All right, so for my first request on the 7.6 homework was number 65 and 67. So these are both composition of functions, which again is like taking a function and plugging it into another function. So when they ask us to find f of g of x, we are taking g of x and we're plugging it into the f function. So we're going to take this g of x, which is 2x, and we're going to plug it in for x in the other function. So you get rid of that x and you replace it with a 2x. Now, when we do this, I would suggest that we put parentheses around the 2x. We then need to follow order of operations. We need to square both the 2 and the x, which would get me 4x squared. And then our next order of operation is multiplication. 3 times 4 gets me 12x squared plus 2. Notice that we cannot add those together because they're not like terms. And then it does ask us for the domain. The domain of a quadratic, if you remember, a quadratic is going to look like this. It goes left forever, right forever, which means the domain is all real numbers. Also, there's no denominator that would make us have any restrictions. Now, for the other function, they want us to do it the other direction, g of f of x. So in this case, we're going to take the f of x function and plug it into the g function. So I'm going to take this whole thing and I'm going to plug it in for x. Now when I do that, I again want to use parentheses because the thing I'm plugging in has 2 terms. We then need to use the distributive property. 2 times 3 is 6x squared and 2 times 2 is 4. Again, same concept. This has no denominator, so the domain is all real numbers. Remember, you also can write negative infinity to positive infinity if you prefer. All right, and then I also had a question about 67. Again, same directions. Find f of g of x and g of f of x. So the first one is the g of x inside. So we're going to take this g of x and we're plugging it in for x. So like when you do this, you get rid of the x. You replace it with 4x. Now there will be a negative staying out front. So it'll be negative 4x minus 7, which is then just negative 4x minus 7. Again, this one is actually a linear function. It would be a line going downward. Its domain is also all real numbers because it goes left and right forever. And the last one I had a question on was the part 2 of this, which is the g of f of x. So again, you always work on the inside and plug it into the outside function. So we're going to take the f of x function and we're going to plug it in for x in the g of x function. Now again, when I plug this in, I want to use parentheses around it. So 4 times the quantity, negative x minus 7. Distribute your 4 and we'll get negative 4x minus 28. Domain, again, because that would be a linear function, is all real numbers. Hope this helps. If any of you have other questions, please email them to me and I will do a short video to help you.